Hi, I'm David Belsky, your host of the Sunset Sessions, brought to you from FlowerHire. Today we actually have a first. We have the first time we've ever had a guest who is a CEO and founder from a New York-based operator, Paul Yau from the travel agency. Thank you, Paul. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
First question. I think from what I've seen, like we've been fortunate to be fairly active in New York and New Jersey in that area for the last several years. Travel agencies, is it the biggest employer in New York State's legal cannabis industry right now?
It could be. It could be just because of how fragmented the industry is. I also don't know from the RO perspective because they're vertical, like how many people they have like in cultivation, trimming, and things like that. But certainly the retail layer, I would suspect that we may be the largest.
Yeah, I know. Well, you're right. Like PharmaCann has a really big facility out there, and some others. But well, describe the current operations of the travel agency, like employees, stores, what you guys do.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have three branded stores across three separate licenses. So it's kind of worthwhile talking about our structure just for a brief second, because the way the card licenses work, each store has its own majority owner who we've partnered with, and we've leveraged the travel agency name as a brand across all of them. So we talk about it as the travel agency umbrella branded dispensaries, but each of them is its own individual business as well. But if we talk about the branded umbrella, we currently have three retail stores. The first of which is in Union Square, which opened in February of 23. I think it was the third legal dispensary to open in New York State. We opened our second dispensary in downtown Brooklyn at Atlantic Terminal. It's just opposite the Apple Store, Barclays Center. That opened in February 24. Our third location is on Fifth Avenue and 48th Street, which opened in May of this year. And between those three stores and management, I think we're probably pushing close to 200 employees.
200 employees across sort of, you have like a basically an operating company with sort of management expertise across the different parts of the retail vertical, front office and back of office, and then all the staff within the stores, 200 employees. I mean, so these are obviously marquee location retail stores. And New York, is a little different, I think, from some other markets in terms of hours too. Like what is like the average hours that you're open for business?
The stores are open from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. Sunday to Thursday, and 9 a.m. to midnight on Friday and Saturday.
Wow. I think California, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock max is what you'll find a store open. So that's obviously New York, the city that never sleeps. So
Yeah,
definitely,
New York's a late night city.
it is a late night city. Every time I go there, I somehow manage 3.5 hours of sleep, but yet to function at least for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
Is there
that's
any?
a Yeah, and I think that's also why we have the employees. We're open, call it 100 hours a week per store. So that's almost two and a half full-time teams. And not all those people are full-time, but it's a machine to keep it going. And, different locations have different peaks and troughs based upon, the people who live and work around the locations. So we're trying to cater for as many people as we can.
Right. I imagine like the Barclays Center location, there's certain times that coincide with, sports schedules or concert schedules that like you're expecting, peak hours for sure. So there's a lot at play, I imagine.
Absolutely. Anecdotally, we didn't think it would be this way, but the New York Liberty, the WNBA team, whenever they play a home game, our Brooklyn store does really well.
Well, wow. Well, I mean, the WNBA is this is best. It's best year ever, I think.
It is. Yeah.
So, so you mentioned being, one of the first three stores open in New York's adult use market. But it seems like, 2024, here we are, Q4 of 2024, the New York's legal market is finally picking up steam. Talk to me about sort of the present day status of New York's cannabis market.
Yeah. So in New York State, I believe there's over 200 legal dispensaries now at a probably estimated run rate of, pushing $1 billion. So we took a little while to get out of the gate, but as combination of incremental legal stores open, improved enforcement, the market is beginning to shape up. So as a participant, like we're really bullish and optimistic about it. There's a lot of things which have to move in combination for the market to be successful.
Oh, I believe it. So basically, we're talking about since you opened your first store, despite the well-documented challenges in 23, the beginning of 24, even like we're talking about at least over a store a week is basically opened since that over that time period. And I saw somewhere that the expectation, like if you're looking at 12 months from now, Q4 of 25 is 300 or more stores, right? Like it's happening.
Yeah, I was looking at a study that they think that the New York market, can accommodate, 1,200, 1,300, somewhere around that licenses. But I think the key issue is it's just a rollout. It's a progressive rollout which needs to be phased in combination with continued enforcement, which is going well, but it just needs to continue. And because the first wave of licenses went to social equity through card, a lot of those licensees may need a little bit more time to get going, and we want to see them be successful.
Yeah, I mean, for New York to hit on its potential as put forth in the MRTA, like that needs to be a reality for sure. So, in aggregate, with 3 stores open, sort of prime kind of New York City area, New York borough locations, like Travel Agency would be the number 1 sort of retailer in the adult use market by revenue in aggregate.
I believe so.
Well, it seemed like a lot of license holders took like a wait and see approach, when or just couldn't figure out how to get open with how the rollout of adult use went with some of the original sort of card license winners and everything like that. But when people were kind of waiting and seeing, like you guys took that as an opportunity to be the first adult use retailer with 3 stores, and I imagine you're gonna be the first adult use retailer with 4 stores open.
That's true, and we can definitely talk about our 4th store, which is coming early next year in Soho. But I think the way we got into the market early, it's a combination. We were lucky, and it's also the way the regulations and just the rollout occurred. In that the first round of all the licenses were card licenses, but specifically to card, there's also a very small pocket of card licenses which were for not-for-profits that serve formerly incarcerated populations. And so our partner in Union Square, the Doe Fund, was eligible for one of those not-for-profit licenses. Then combined with the card licenses, New York State had the aim at the time to raise a $200 million social equity fund and to be able to get real estate and help those card licenses, but individuals, not for profits, find locations and build them out. And so a lot of those individual cards were waiting for the social equity fund to develop and to enter the market that way. And we know that was challenging, and we don't need to talk about it, but we were never going to be in that channel because the not-for-profits were never eligible for the social equity fund. We always knew that we had to find our own real estate and finance it. So we were never looking for the social equity fund. As soon as we got our license, together with the Doe Fund, we just started running, trying to find a location, enter into a lease and get going.
I mean, how does the not-for-profit in the relationship with the Doe Fund like kind of infiltrate your business or permeate your business or embody kind of your values, I guess is the question. How does that relationship and how does that work?
Yeah, so the Doe Fund, for people who don't know, it's a not-for-profit which has been around for 30 years. Their mission is to provide shelter to homeless and formerly incarcerated, predominantly Black and brown men. They also do a lot of job training and employment. And so when we partnered with the Doe Fund, who is the majority owner of the first store, we loved their mission, and it was such a natural fit for us on kind of our side of business as partners. We're a BIPOC-founded company. We have a lot of shared values with them around, social equity mission, giving back, values, philanthropy, and really trying to create a culture and an opportunity for, Black and brown people, queer people, and other people who to enter the industry and to work with us. So we align perfectly with the Dough Fund in our mission. And then when we went to subsequent stores, because that's who we are, that's the type of culture we've tried to build in our other stores.
Well, in the Dough Fund, I mean, you know what it does and what its mission is aligns incredibly with the original vision of the MRTA as well. So, you know, not a surprise that was an organization that New York State looked at to try to be part of you know the birth of the adult use market, right? It makes sense to me. You know, tell me, you know, New York, okay, you know, it's a cultural, economic, you know, juggernaut of a place. You know, what happens in New York affects the world. What does the New York consumer want from a retail experience?
Yeah, I think the New York consumer, they don't care it's cannabis, right? They just want the same level of expertise, service, knowledge, and sophistication at a cannabis dispensary that you could get in any other retail. And that's first and foremost in our mind in how we design the store, how we hire people, how we really invest into training for our bud tenders, but also how we really look to, you know, impact our culture. It's always people first organization led by the customers, but led by the people who interact with the customers at first, which is all our bud tenders, all the way up to management. So from a retail experience, that's what we're focused on, trying to make the experience as seamless as if you were walking into Saks.
Well, if you think about New York, you know, there's two different types of consumers, I would imagine, and I've observed this in your stores as well as I've visited as a secret shopper. No, just kidding. But you have people that just want to get in and out very quickly, want the selection and don't want to be hassled, don't need to talk, want to be out in 2.5 minutes or less.
Yeah.
And you have the folks that want to be educated, that want to have service. And I think your stores do nail, in my opinion, that combination of both. You have a technology forward retail experience for consumers that just want to get in and get out. And then you have folks that seem well trained and, you know, very customer service centric, that if customers do have questions and want to interact, right? And I think that's a very healthy combination.
No, 100%. So we know that some people, as you say, they know what they want to come in and come out, and other people maybe brand newbies to the industry and they want to ask questions and we want to invest time with them. So much so that even outside of just the store experience, we're beginning to workshop and do events where we can really bring the kind of curious and just try to answer their questions in an even more casual, kind of friendly setting as well. But on average, when we're seeing over 1,000 people a day, we need to be able to offer something to everyone in a 5-star way, whether you want to be in and out and you're a cannabis expert, or you're new and you have questions and you really want to explore your own journey, and we're there for you as well.
Yeah, I mean, I have so many questions there, and I love that being a steward, if you will, to like reframing the narrative around cannabis and like holding events for educational purposes in your stores where people can answer questions if they want. I love that. You know, New York has a vibrant cannabis culture. It always has. It's had underground cannabis clubs. Ever since I've been an adult, I've been aware of them and partaken in some. You know, it's the number one. You know, some I don't know how they figure this stuff out, but there's like a city in like India that's number one, and like New York's like number two in terms of most cannabis consumed per capita. So there's a vibrant cannabis culture already in place there. You know, tell me about kind of the thought of the importance of being a good steward of the cannabis community in New York at this time. Like, how do you try to make that happen?
Yeah, so I think we're trying to lead. We're trying to take a leadership position in setting the culture. Certainly for this adult use, we're not an MSO, we're not a multi-state operator, we're not vertically integrated, but we have a number of people who work formally in those organizations. And what we wanted to create was a culture, and it comes back to the people, a culture where we feel proud to be the executives of the business, where our partners like the Dough Fund trust us and are proud of us to act in such a way to carry, their name on the wall and their mission. And so what one of my executives said to me the other day, because we were having an offsite with all our supervisors, was I want to create a culture where I would be proud of my two, daughters who are, in their teens. When they're old enough, they could work here, and I would be proud of it. And I kind of think that's how we approach it, and that really bubbles back to our approach to being a steward of the cannabis industry in New York. We want it to be inclusive, we want it to be professional, and we want to do it in a little kind of New York moment as well.
Well, you also, I mean, you have, as you said it, you interact with 1,000 customers a day on average, and like, what's interesting about that is that a customer's perception of a career in cannabis, or what it means to work in cannabis, is often based on their interactions with somebody working as a bud tender in a retail store, right? So, and ultimately, if they have that experience and they're met with the right level of courtesy and intelligence, like that, not only is it, is it something to be proud of for all the reasons of safer forms of recreation, wellness, righting for the wrongs of a failed war on drugs and all the other things. Like when it's giving people jobs, and it's, and those people seem to be happy and motivated and enjoy those jobs. That's part of how the whole narrative kind of flips. And you mentioned this sort of training and development, right? And obviously, from a workforce perspective, from my observation, cannabis retail really presents an opportunity for fast track career advancement that other retail establishments don't necessarily offer, right? Just based on the growth and trajectory of the industry. Like, you become a bud tender for a high volume store that people are, aware of, that has a good reputation. Like, you could be a fast tracker, right? Career wise, if you understand it and you're career minded. So talking about building that sort of culture within your workforce, upward mobility, investing in the people, like what have you guys put into place?
Yes. So when we started, call it 18 months in, if someone had told me back then that we would be hiring like a chief people officer, I would think you're crazy. But that's what we've gone and done. We're really investing into learning and development, trying to build culture and trying to create pathways for our people. You're right, it's a burgeoning industry. People really want to be a part of it. But we also always constantly challenging ourselves to be better leaders and try to create a better culture as well, because, all these companies are like pyramids in terms of structures. So not everyone's going to be able to progress, but we want to be really honest and transparent with people, to let them know where they are, for us to help them with their learning and development, to make them better. And not everyone's going to stay with us longer term, but what we talk about is, but we want to have a good partnership with you. There's so many people who already in this short time have worked with us who are now in other parts of the industry, and we love seeing them. They could be suppliers, they could be at other dispensaries, but it is a big community, but it's also a very small community. And so I think if you treat each other with kind of mutual respect and understanding and transparency, it's good for the industry, and it's great for culture. And so that's how we view it within our organization, but how it flows onto the rest of the community as well.
Well, it definitely helps that you have the growth readily around you with new stores opening up, which ultimately creates opportunity, for people to take part in that, and that's got to be motivating for the people that come in there. So when let's say you're looking for somebody to work in your retail store as a cashier, bud tender, customer service agent, inventory clerk, like what do you guys look for? Do you look for previous cannabis experience?
Initially, we look for initial cannabis experience, but albeit in the new market, there's not that many people with that experience. But what we really look for is people who've got good retail experience, because coming back to one of your early questions about what do customers expect from a retail experience, they don't know what a cannabis experience is. They want to know what it's like to walk into Adidas or the North Face. And so we hire people from those places who understand retail, understand the little things like zoning, having a morning huddle, just coordination, training. We actually try to make their lives easier by giving them some structure, and we also listen, but trying to really mirror it after normal retail, but albeit fitted for cannabis.
Any advice for brands that are trying to get into the New York market, whether it's from a license or through a partnership? Is there any advice for brands on how to tackle New York right now?
So obviously the table stakes are you need a good product. So I'm not going to talk about that. But then it's really about investing in your brand, getting your name out there, but also at the store level, investing in the bud tenders. And so we really make it a mission that we will only onboard suppliers with their products, new products that we need them to sample the bud tenders. We need them to come in, every couple of weeks and do bud tender training. So the number one way to sell your product is to get the bud tenders to be evangelists for you. And the more people invest in the bud tenders, it really helps. And so that's a huge thing. Obviously, we try to help the brands as well, like especially this specialty brands which come through New York. We want to promote Black-owned, BIPOC, other things like that, which unfortunately are a very small part of the market. I would love to see more. But within the store, we start with the people, and outside our walls, we start with trying to build your brand.
I think that's good advice. And any you've seen some other adult use markets. Any difference in terms of like the type of products that sell in New York versus the type of products that sell in some other markets, or is it flower dominant, edible second, same idea?
Statewide, I think that's consistent, although what we see within specific neighborhoods of our stores is very reflective of the individual neighborhood. So our Brooklyn store is a little bit more dominant, smoking dominant. Union Square is pretty even. Our Fifth Avenue is probably a little bit more discreet, less smoking relative to what the industry average is, and more vapes and edibles. So which is kind of reflective of the communities of people who live and work around there.
That's super interesting, but it's I've seen that play out, and that companies that really nail like inventory management on a per store level versus some like command and control, we're just going to evenly split all the units we're ordering across a footprint, end up having better customer experience, end up having less inventory waste. And it sounds like that's what you're seeing in your stores, and it really does depend on the customers in which you serve. I know, I understood. Well, Paul, I really, again, you look back 3 years ago when I think you started this journey to now, and I don't know if you knew where it was going to go, but when I say, like, I do think you're the biggest employer in New York's legal cannabis industry from what I've seen. Like, how does that feel?
I never really think about it that way, but we're really proud of what we've accomplished. We're really proud of the partnerships we formed with our various licensees. We've built a brand, but we need to do a lot of work. But we're also in partnership with, call it 200 people day to day. So we just try to get better, a little bit better every day. Try to be human. Try to actually treat people with respect. Within our team, and also the customer, we try to be customer centric, and that's how we focus. And we're hopeful that if we do those things right, we'll continue to get better each day.
Well, thank you, Paul. Thanks for joining us on the Sunset Session today, and have a great day.
Thanks, Dave. Much appreciated.